Welcome in, college football fans. It's that time again. It's time for Between the Lines. That's right. It's First and Long's weekly college football betting show. You're in the right place for some best bets, some picks against the odds. We're trying to beat Vegas. We're trying to make some money. That's what this show is all about. We are going to run through some of the big games for the week and our last thoughts on those. We'll do that here in just a moment. See if we have any plays on those big games, and then we're just going to go all across the board and we'll just flat out give you our best bets of the week, the ones we feel most confident about putting you on so that you can get to the betting window, place your ticket, and cash out. That's what it is all about. Mason, what are you doing today? Are you ready to lock up some picks, man?
I'm ready, and real quick, if any fans are watching live or will be watching live later, give us your picks in the comment section. We'd love to have them on the show, and you can see in the ticker at the bottom of your screen, we've got some picks of the week that fans have sent us in, and we really appreciate that. We appreciate you guys commenting all week. But yeah, let's keep it rolling. Keep commenting. Comment on this show, and we'll feature it on our next show. So we really appreciate it.
I'll piggyback off of that. Please comment. Give us your predictions. As Mason said, they're ticking across the bottom of the screen there. You can check everybody's picks out and things like that. So we strongly encourage that. Go check out all our game breakdowns. We've got all that stuff on the predictions playlist. You can go check that out. If you're subscribed, you've already seen all that stuff, and you're already ahead of the game a little bit on this stuff. But I will tell you, Mason and I reserve the right to change our picks for the Between the Lines show. Yeah. This is after we've had all our calculations done. We've heard everything we can hear. We've seen everything we can see. This is when we're ready to lock it up and when we feel the most confident. When we do these predictions, we're trying to figure out ways for both teams that they can win. And I also want to do a little bit of housekeeping notes here. And I should have ran some of this by Mason before the show started, but we're live, baby. That's how we do it around here. So we're kind of redoing our schedule, and we talked about this on one of our live shows earlier this week. We're going to get to the best bets in a moment, but reactions, we'll have those on Sunday. Okay, we're going to be doing that on Sunday morning. That's going to be available for whenever you want to look at it on Sunday, but Sunday morning we're going to be going live, and we're going to be giving you our reactions to what we just saw from that prior Saturday while it's fresh on our mind. On Mondays, I'm thinking 9 p.m. I got to run that by Mason, but it's going to be in the evening on Mondays. We're going to be doing top 25, re-ranking that, news, and final thoughts of the week. I think that needs to be a segment for us because sometimes you can go back, catch a game, maybe you miss something like that. So final thoughts of the week and top 25 re-ranking will be on Monday. Predictions on Tuesday at 9 p.m. and then Between the Lines on Thursdays at 1 p.m. That's what we're going to shoot for. Life makes things change, and if we can let you know, we'll try to schedule that out, and that way you know what the schedule is. But we invite you to come join us. Hit the subscribe button. Let's go. Let's start in chronological order here as far as what time the games are starting. Michigan at Penn State. Mason, do you have a play on this game?
I don't think I do. And the reason being, we haven't seen Michigan get tested yet. I feel like Michigan should be able to win and cover. It's a 4.5 point spread, depending on where you're looking. And I feel like Michigan should be able to cover. I also feel like the under should hit. I think it's at 47.5. Check me on that, Mark. But I want to say.
Yeah, that's what I saw last.
Yep. Actually, no, we're at 45 now. So that number's moving down. So beware on that.
Touching it at 45.
No,
there's no way.
No. There's a chance that Michigan could run away with this one and win by 14 points and prove that they're the best team in the country. There's a real chance of that. They've got some of the best players in the country, a lot of first round talent, and a solid coaching staff. I'm going to stay away from this one. I'm going to be watching it intently because I think it has a lot of playoff implications on it. And it's the biggest game of the weekend in my eyes for a number of reasons. But yeah, I'm staying away from a betting perspective. What you got on it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that, man. Penn State looked good last week, but I tell you what, man, and the more I went back and looked at that game versus Maryland, Maryland really just looked like they kind of gave up, man.
Yeah.
And we've seen that out of Maryland the last few years, start off strong out the gate and just totally just crap the bed at the end of the season, man. And I think that we're seeing that a little bit. So I'm not going to overreact to the Penn State, the big victory. And some people were talking about, they saw things out of the quarterback there that Aller that they really liked. And I just think that Aller is a ways away from being able to come into a big game like this, even at home, and put the game on his back and win this game for his team. He doesn't have the wide receiver core to get it done. And I mean, gosh, we're talking about a Michigan team this year that hasn't allowed an opponent to run a play inside the 10-yard line. Okay. Their defense has no stats in goal to go situations for other offenses. No stats. It hasn't happened. The scoring that has happened has happened from farther out than 10 yards, and it hasn't happened much. We know that Michigan hasn't played anybody. Probably the lamest nine game schedule so far that I've ever seen out of a contender. Didn't play any Power 5 non-con teams. So you're right. It seems like we don't know a lot about this. And you talk about coaching staff. We know that there are at least two coaches shorter than what they were a few weeks ago, as Connor Stallions has been fired amid the cheating scandal that is absolutely blowing up. Just tons and tons of coming out on that. And I invite everybody to come hang out with us on Monday, and we're going to talk about all the news and stuff, and we'll dive into this deeper. But I'm staying away from this game for that point. If I had to give a lean in this one, I think I would lean the plus the points with Penn State, but I just don't know, man. I don't feel confident in that. Surely don't feel confident enough to give it out as a best bet. Let's keep it moving. So at 3:30, we've got our Tennessee at Missouri game. I left Alabama and Kentucky off of this because we can't be on here for 2 hours. Alabama and Kentucky, it is a big game. It's an SEC game. That's great. And if we got to play on that, we'll get to it later. Tennessee at Missouri. This is a 1.5 point line last I saw today. What is your thoughts on the Tennessee and Missouri game, and do you have a play?
I do have a play. And so
Give it to me.
when I'm looking at Tennessee and Missouri, the game is at Missouri, which I think does factor into this. It makes me a little bit apprehensive, but Tennessee's a 1.5 point favorite. That number is moving towards Tennessee right now. So if you're going to get in with me on this, I'm taking Tennessee and the points. You might want to go ahead and do that because it was at Tennessee -1 earlier in the week. So this number is moving a little bit. But I like Tennessee in this slot because they really didn't get tested last week at all against UConn. They got to rest their players a little bit. They're getting some players back on the offensive line in particular. And I think that that's going to bode well. I think they're going to be able to really run pretty well against this Missouri team and a front for Missouri that have been really good, and they're big physical defensive players. But we've seen this song and dance before with Tennessee. It really doesn't matter who's in front of them. They're able to run the football. They weren't as effective against Alabama, I know, but I don't think that Missouri has the same front four as Alabama either. So I think that Tennessee will be able to kind of name their point in this game. Also for Missouri, they're coming off of a brutal loss against Georgia, and it was a physical game, probably a pretty emotional game for Missouri, who's trying to win the East and make it to the SEC championship game. I'm not saying that they're gonna quit in this scenario, but I think that it's going to be really tough for them to kind of get up off the mat and play, in back-to-back games as well as they did last week. If we get the same Missouri team we got last week, I think that they win this game. I'm skeptical of that. Also, Luther Burden is hurt, and we don't know what his status is for this game. Brady Cook seems to be, probable, but has also been playing hurt as well. But I think that it's a pretty safe bet to think that Tennessee is going to win this one, and then they've got Georgia coming to their house next week, so it sets up for a bigger game if Tennessee wins this one, and I feel like they're going to be able to do it.
Absolutely. I agree with everything that you just said right there. And that's why I'm going to lock it up with you, brother.
Awesome.
Because and you know, I was on Missouri. I was on Missouri earlier this week,
Yeah.
and I have flipped, and I feel confident about it.
Mm-hmm.
With both of us locking it up, I feel even better. But all the same reasons, I think this offensive line is going to be able to move people enough for Tennessee to score what they need to score in this game. And no matter if Luther Burden plays or not, he's not going to be 100% in this game. So he's either not going to play or he's not going to play at full potential. And I don't like Brady Cook's odds whenever he doesn't have a key playmaker field like that. Theo Weiss is a nice piece,
Mm-hmm.
but and that rhymed. But you know, I think that it's not going to work out very good for Missouri this weekend.
I
I
think
could
I
go
think
ahead.
how good is Weiss? Not to cut you off. How good is Weiss without Luther Burton getting a lot of attention though?
I don't think very good because we saw
Right.
Weiss have a lot of success last week against Georgia. A lot of his success was back shoulder throws whenever we know good and well the sacrifices that Georgia was making on defense to make sure that Luther Burden didn't run free, right? So, hey Quentin, how you doing, buddy? Welcome back. But I like this Tennessee team. What scares me a little bit is if Luther Burden did play and he gutted through it and he actually was 80 to 90%, because this Tennessee secondary has not been good again this year. Whereas the front four has been good and the front seven has been pretty good, the secondary has still been bad. But I don't see any of these wide receivers being able to take advantage of it, especially if Luther Burden is hurt. So give me Tennessee -1.5. Let's keep it moving. Um, Quentin says Texas announced Ewers is playing. Wow. Okay.
Insider info there. I don't have Texas as a play. I don't know if you were going to get to that game, but I don't have that as a play, and I may be betting this once we get off the show. I got to go back and look at that, but I was staying away from that because I didn't
Yeah.
know what to expect.
Quentin, what's the Texas has got TCU this weekend, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what the line is on that, and tell us what your score prediction is, Quentin. And we'll talk about it here in just a bit when we get done with these key games. Let's keep it moving. Hey, and everybody comment and let us know, and we'll put your comment on the show and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, on any game.
Yeah, any game. Miss at UGA. Do you got plays on this one, buddy? I got plays on this one.
Man, I got plays on plays on plays.
Let's go.
For the sake of this show, I'm not going to talk about the fact that I guess I'll tell you, but this isn't like a best bet. I try to stick with the over under and the line for this show, but I do have Georgia team total over. I think it was like 34, if I'm not mistaken. And then also
34 and a half.
34 and a half.
Too.
Yeah. And then also, the first half over 6.5 for Georgia.
Look, y'all, we don't even talk about this before the show. I don't know any of Mason's picks before y'all do.
Right.
So for us to be on the same ones means that we really do like something for real.
We both wait until the very last minute to make these picks. And honestly, we would do it Friday night or Saturday morning because we get more information in, but we don't get as many viewers that way. So we kind of have to do what we can to keep the channel up and running and keep the lights on here. So, but yeah, so the two plays I did back off of the over. So I'm going to take Georgia -10.5. It's the third week in a row that I've been on Georgia. Missouri kind of spoiled my play last week, but Georgia was pretty close to covering and honestly could have if they wanted to late, but you know, they were already up and there's no need to drive at that point. But yeah, I don't believe in this Ole Miss defense at all. I don't think that they are going to be able to force Georgia to punt hardly at all. I mentioned in the preview show earlier in the week that if Ole Miss is going to stay in this game, they're going to have to force Georgia to kick field goals because I don't think that they stop Georgia from driving. And I just don't think that they're going to be able to do that enough times for Georgia not to win by 14 or 17 points in this game. So give me UGA and the 10.5 points. I was going to bet the over at 58 points, but I saw that it's going to be a little bit cold and there's a high chance of rain during this game. So I'm going to stay away from that play. But otherwise, I would like it because I think that Ole Miss can put up about 20 points as well on Georgia. So, and I think Georgia can get to 40 points pretty easily. What you got on this one?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just kind of I just want to kind of go through some of Ole Miss's totals on the year. So they beat Tulane 37-20, and that was deceiving because that game was really really close until some crazy unfortunate events at the end of the game. If you saw that, 48-23 against Georgia Tech. This is a Georgia Tech team that couldn't. I mean, they couldn't tie their shoes at this point in the season. Okay, struggling, like having to get people to Velcro their shoes on. They were that bad. 24-10 at Alabama, 55-49 at LSU, 27-20 at Arkansas, 28-21 at Auburn. So, and gave up 35 points to Texas A&M last week. This Ole Miss defense is a paper tiger, and I think we're about to see it. Now, you talk about some rain that can always neutralize some things. I don't know if that necessarily would play into the favor of Ole Miss, but we just found out some breaking news within the last couple hours. I just found out anyway. Right tackle Trey Pettis broke his foot at practice yesterday. That's Ole Miss's starting right tackle. And one of their best players on their offensive line. Bad time. Very bad timing. Give me the UGA team total over 34.5, as you said. Some of those totals that they gave up, you got to figure this is one of the best UGA offenses that we've seen in a while, man. They score points. They move the football through the air, on the ground. They've been doing it all, and it's Carson Beck, knock on wood, hasn't had a bad game yet. And then I'm going to be on the UGA minus 10.5. Ole Miss has played with fire. They've been in close games this year, even some of the games that the score didn't indicate it. Georgia is just a whole lot more elite of an athlete at pretty much just about every position. And I really like the matchup for UGA. And then I'm going to also take UGA minus 6.5 points in the first half.
Okay.
I think that Georgia is going to get at least a touchdown lead going into halftime there. And I know that Georgia is going to be full throttle through the first half, no matter what happens, whether they're going to run away with this game or not. So I feel confident in the first half, minus 6.5. Give me all three of those plays on the dogs. Let's go.
Hey, real quick, do you think Bowers plays? Apparently, there's growing rumors that he plays in this game.
I don't see why he would, but honestly, I really don't. I don't see why he would, other than maybe to be some kind of a decoy. But I just don't see Kirby Smart risking it, man. This is a conservative coach that typically doesn't gamble on things like that. So I wouldn't expect it. How about you?
Yeah, I think if it's raining, like don't risk the ankle. Why put him out there? And you're going to put him on some jet sweeps, like let McConkey do it, or somebody else.
I just think it's unnecessary.
Yeah. I'd like to see Dylan Bell on an end around like that. Just I'm getting off topic here, but similar build to Bowers. Like, why not just let him get an end around? He's already playing running back. So
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know that running the football isn't going to be what Georgia tries to do. So now we're going to go to the let's see. We're going to go to the 10:30 game, USC at Oregon. I have went back and forth with people online about this game and one other one out there on the West Coast, the Utah and Washington game. We can talk about that one too. But USC and Oregon, do you have a play on it? I know you're trying to fix your mic over there, or excuse me, your camera. I have a couple plays on it, and I'll give you a second to get that straightened out.
Yep, I think we're good.
USC at Oregon, I'm taking the over 73.5. This is still a good offense that USC has here. I mean, I know that it's not the greatest offensive line in the world, okay, but they've got playmakers everywhere. They're going to be able to score some points. I don't think that Oregon's going to be able to completely shut them down. And then on the other hand of that, Oregon is going to be able to do whatever the absolute hell they want on offense. This USC defense, I mean, it couldn't stop a cold, son. It is bad. So I suspect that Oregon is going to be able to run up and down the field on them. That's not news to anybody. Excuse me. But I've heard several people say, well, Oregon may run the ball. And okay, even if they run the ball, that would require USC to tackle them to run clock. USC does not tackle. And Bucky Irving is not going to be easily tackled. So this is a matchup nightmare for Oregon. As pretty much any game is, any formidable offense is a matchup nightmare against this defense. So give me the Oregon Ducks over 73.5. I think they're about to have a big day offensively. And also give me the Oregon minus 15.5. This number has been trickling down. It's been trickling down all week, and I really don't understand why. Most models that you're going to check out, simulations, all that type of thing, likes Oregon by like 20 points here. And I know you got the Caleb Williams factor, but I just can totally see Oregon putting up 52, and I cannot see USC scoring more than 32 in this game. And I think that that's going to be around the score is going to be, 52-32, something like that, 50-30. Sometime maybe a weird score of 50-30 because there'll probably be some missed 2-point conversions in this one. Do you have any plays on the Oregon game this weekend?
I do. I'm with you on the Oregon minus 15. I like the over as well. And I apologize, y'all. I'm having camera issues here, but I like the Oregon and USC over as well. But I'm a little apprehensive. I saw a lot of quit in USC last week potentially, and
Yeah.
I'm worried that this offense is going to regress a little bit with the defense here, unfortunately. So I'm going to stay away from that one.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, and then let's talk about Utah at Washington. I think that game is actually a little earlier, so I messed up the time and order of all that. But what do you have any plays on that game? I don't have a play on it, but my God, we've went back and forth with the Washington fans, and I just want to clarify some things. So, do you have a pick on that game? Uh-oh. I think Mason's frozen. Well, I'll go ahead and go into my spiel, and then we'll let Mason get his situation handled there. But Washington is not the defense that I thought they were at the beginning of the year. And that's not to say that they're a bad defense or horrible. They're not a USC style defense, but I don't think this team has the depth that it's going to take to run 15 games and win a national championship. Now, obviously, it's already been a very, very successful season for Washington. They have a prolific offense. They have NFL wide receivers. They have an NFL quarterback, okay, a gunslinger. But there has been games where there's been issues, and look, Washington fans have been quick to tell me so-and-so was hurt, so-and-so was sick. Guess what? Everybody's got hurt players. Everybody's got sick players, okay? You got 80. That's why you got 85 scholarships. Only 22 people play on the field at one time. But you got 85 scholarships, okay? And so there's people hurt all over the country. That's the whole point of this. It's about depth. It's about talent accumulation. That's why Kirby Smart is on top of the college football world. He's not some kind of genius that just knows things that nobody else knows. That's not the case. He's a talent accumulator, and he's done it year after year after year. Washington hasn't had the chance to do that. Kalen DeBoer is going to be able to do that over time, and I know that the recruiting is going to be better under Kalen DeBoer. I would think, but I don't like this defense right now. I think it's vulnerable. With all that being said, is Utah going to be able to take advantage of it? No. I don't think they're going to be able to take advantage of it. You know what? Went back and saw the 55 points that they scored last week. I don't think it's duplicable. It's not going to happen again. Okay, they're not going to score 55 points again. Kyle Whittingham got fired up in that game. It was a late hit on his quarterback in the end zone. Fired him up. Decided to run the score up on Arizona State. That's where you get your 55 points. It's not happening like that again, unless Michael Penix decides he's going to throw into the teeth of this defense and he gets into trouble. That's the only way, and he hasn't done that all year. Michael Penix, as of now, thanks to Jaden Daniel, them losing their game against Alabama, LSU, that is, losing their game against Alabama last week, Michael Penix is now in the driver's seat for the Heisman. If he goes out and he has a Heisman performance here and he goes and beats Oregon, he's winning the Heisman. It's happening. So, and he's going to New York, I think, almost no matter what. So, Washington fans, I felt like, took it the wrong way. And they also had beef about the running game. This running game's not great. And I'm going to tell you what. Everybody wants to run the football. Even Washington, who has NFL wide receivers, you still have to run the football. And if it's something that you can do, a coach will do it. The fact that Kalen DeBoer is not running the football as often as, a balanced offense would, doesn't prove the fact that they can run the football. That doesn't prove that to me. When they don't run the football effectively, they struggle offensively. And that goes for a lot of teams in college football. It's not just Washington. So, I felt like people kind of took it the wrong way. And Dylan Johnson has had a couple good games. And the couple good games they had, they scored like 50 points in those games. It's no wonder. So, the key to Washington winning this game and winning it big, I think, is being able to run the football. If you want to give Utah a chance, give them a bunch of possessions and score real quick. Maybe you run it up on them and they can't keep up. You're probably right. But if that type of play keeps on and you run into Oregon in the Pac-12 championship on Friday night in Las Vegas, you will lose. It will be a loss. Mason, do you have any plays on this game?
I do. For no other reason than the fact that like the betting public is on Washington, and the 9.5. I think it was down at 8.5, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in the week. And we've had a lot of Washington fans, even Ute fans, who are saying that Washington's going to be able to cover this week, and I want to fade the public whenever I get the opportunity to, if I find a lean. And I feel pretty good about this. I think that Utah may not win the game, but I think they're able to keep it within 10 points. And I'm really citing the fact that their offense got rolling pretty good last week. Whether they ran the score up because of a certain play in the game or not, I think having the ability to do it is positive, right? So, couple that with one of the best defenses in the Pac-12. And I think that, this smells like an upset. The only thing that gives me pause about this play is the fact that it's in Husky Stadium. Washington's been really good there. And they very well could. If any team is going to run away with this one and win by 20 points, it's going to be Washington, like, obviously. So they could very well cover, but I'm going to stick with my play here and take Utah at plus 9.5.
Yeah. If I had a play on that game, it would probably be something like that. But I'm going to stay away from it. And then that's what it is now. It's at 9.5, so it's went up to 9.5 from 8.5 when we did our prediction show. So interesting line movement there. So we went through the big games. Do you want to talk about Alabama, Kentucky real quick? It seems to be getting a lot of views. All you Bammers and Tucky folks out there.
We're a Kentucky podcast, folks. I don't know if y'all know this, but we're now.
I wore the wrong shirt.
That's right. We're now a Kentucky podcast. They just keep hopping on, and hey, I'm here for it. Go Big Blue. I think. So
I've been to Lexington. I've been to a Kentucky football game. Beautiful place out there. And I watched Georgia put up about 70. So it looked like a college basketball team against a JV um, high school team. It
Yeah.
was bad. So look, Kentucky travels to Alabama. It's going to be an 11 a.m. local time kickoff. I think this is a bit of a sleepy spot, and I wonder how this game is going to really unfold because I feel like I talked about it earlier in the week, and I still feel the same way. I feel like these teams kind of want to do the same thing. And, we had some Alabama fans commenting on that video, and they said, look, Alabama has done whatever the defense has dictated in these games. Because I was saying in our prediction show that where did this come from Milrow? All of a sudden he's running and he's got 4 touchdowns on the ground. Like, why have they not been running him? Were they scared to get him hurt? What? So with that train of thought, and I'm not saying the Alabama fans that are commenting are correct, but with that train of thought, don't you think Kentucky's going to be loading the box this weekend and Darren Milrow to throw? I feel like that's what's going to be happening. Now, obviously, they're not going to do that every single play or anything like that, but I think that's going to be the general mentality of this Kentucky defense. Is probably going to be give these wide receivers some space, okay, and try to see if Milrow can make the middle of the field throws and the short and intermediate stuff because that is what he struggles with. And I know I can't be the only one that sees that, right? So Kentucky is vulnerable on the back end of their defense, and I'm not saying they're not, but I don't know that I trust these Alabama wide receivers to consistently get open and get hit by Jalen Milrow. But he does have a pretty high completion percentage for shots down the field. So Alabama would like to run the ball and hit play action, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And, I had Alabama at minus 10.5 going into this game. But I think I'm going to back off of that just simply because, Kentucky's the home team. Bama has been playing really well, and they're one of the hottest teams right now and coming off of a big win against LSU. And that's really what gives me pause. We've seen, I don't think they're going to get upset or anything. I'm not saying that Alabama gets beaten this week,
Yeah,
but I think
me
that they
neither.
could be a little bit sleepy, headed over to Kentucky for an early game.
After an
And
emotional victory.
right. And I could see this being like a 24-14 type of win, and just slightly the Kentucky covering with a 10-point win and Alabama just saying, hey, let's just get out of here with the win, run the clock, and we don't have to put anything on tape for any of our future opponents like Georgia. So, I want to stay away from it from that perspective, from a betting perspective. I think Alabama wins, and I think that they kind of play with their food a little bit here in this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm tempted to take the under on that one, but I think I'll leave it alone. Maybe I'll check that one out later. And I think if there is a play on that game, I think it might be under. But we'll let that one be. So we are now free to go anywhere on the board, Mason. Where else do you have a pick this week? I've got 2 other picks that I'm going to be laying this week. So how many more do you got?
I think I've got 4 more.
All right,
So,
hit us up.
all right, I'm going to start with Kansas, our favorites here, the Jayhawks.
Man, I'm on this game too.
So I think that the line moved. I believe it was at 2.5, favoring Kansas here. Now it's up to 3.5. I'm still going to take it. I think that Kansas is going to be able to pull this one out pretty handedly against Texas Tech. So for those of you who don't know who they're playing, but yeah, whenever I look at this game, Kansas at home are 5-0, and hasn't scored less than 34 on the season. Crowd should be into this one. This is their first game since the OU win, so they're going to come. They're going to be ramped up and ready to cheer on their Jayhawks. Also, the only team that has scored more than 30 on them at home was OU, and I don't think that the Raiders have any sort of like matchup advantage or anything like that they can exploit in order to get to 30. So I think that at least Kansas should at least score 34 and at most give up 30. Therefore, they win by 4 points, right? And I think it's actually going to be a little bit more lopsided than that. I don't think that the public is on Kansas quite yet. And I'm here to tell y'all that they're a really good team, and they're a top 25 team, probably a top 20 team in the country right now. And Lance Leipold says, "Hey, I'm staying in Kansas," and I don't blame him. He's got a good thing going there. What you got on this game?
Yeah, I'm on the same thing. I'm on Kansas minus 3.5, and I heard that quote that you were talking about, and I love that, and I mean that's what you want your coach to say, right? Look, Jason Bean's the dude, and did you hear also that Daniels? There's rumors flying around about him transferring to USC.
Yeah, I don't know how much sense that makes for him, unless they just really don't like what they have in. I want to say it's
Is it Malachi
Malachi
Nelson?
Nelson. Yep, I get
Yep.
him and Malachi Singleton at Arkansas confused, but it's Nelson. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my pick. Heath Adams. I see your comment. I'm going to put that up on the screen. He's got
What's up, Heath?
Vols to cover here.
Hey,
Go,
Heath, we're both on the cover. Earlier in this episode, me and Mason, we both had them as best bets. We sure did.
Absolutely. So I invite you to go back and check that out. We appreciate your comment, and
I
if
think
you've
the
got
Big Orange is going to be moving some yellow people out of the way, man.
that's right. If you got any other picks this week, put it on the screen and comment it, and we'll put it on the screen there as well.
Thanks, Heath. Appreciate you watching, bud.
Anyways, you got anything else on that game?
No, I mean, Texas Tech is not good at anything. I mean, there's nothing that they're good at. I mean, it's been a very, very disappointing season for them. So, and it being at Kansas, I like this one a lot, the minus 3.5. So I'm right there with you. Give us another pick, Mason. Where are we going next?
Well, we got to go with the hottest player in the country, in Ollie Gordon, and I've got Oklahoma State minus 2.5 at UCF.
I'm with you.
Jeez, pound the table, Mark. I see you. This is Ollie Gordon cannot be stopped, y'all. If you hadn't watched this guy play, please check out this game. It's at 3:30 against UCF.
A lot of fun to watch.
I like the over in this game as well, but I think that minus 2.5 is a really good number. I think Oklahoma State's able to win this by at least 3. I think that they're on their way to the Big 12 championship in a head-to-head matchup with Texas. And yeah, I don't like what I've seen from UCF so far. They had the one close game against Oklahoma, which doesn't look as good as it did then. And I think that Oklahoma State should be able to cover this pretty easily. And they're going to pound it on the run, control the game, control time of possession. And this is going to be like a 2-hour and 45-minute game. And Oklahoma State gets the cover, wins by 3.
Yeah, and UCF is a good offensive team, so I agree there is going to be some points scored in this one. What is the overall total on this one? Do you know?
Last I saw, I want to say it was in the low 60s, which is why I was kind of like, man, I don't know. Let me double check on that though, because I may have that confused with another game. So we're at 3:30.
Well, I like the pick.
Yeah, 65 is the number for that.
65.
Yeah.
65. Honestly, I think it could go over that. I mean, I know that UCF is going to score in the 30s, and I think Oklahoma State's going to win. So
I'm just afraid that with Oklahoma State running the ball, they limit the possessions, and you get a lot fewer
runs the ball too.
Yeah. So maybe maybe with like 2 punts each, they're still only scoring in the high 20s. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If they limit the possessions and are kicking field goals, but I mean,
I'm leaving that one alone. You're right. I mean, the UCF. You're talking about Goose Malzoon, right? I mean, they're going to be running it left, running it right, running it up the middle, throw it over the top. I mean, it's the same recipe, same crap, different toilet. So yeah, give me Oklahoma State minus 2.5. I'm with you. Give me them Okies. They're hot. Well, you got to ride the waves, man. They got the momentum right now. They're hot. It's undeniable. It's one of the best stories in college football. And gosh, Gundy was somebody that I thought may have been on the hot seat a little bit, or on his way out last year. So I am super happy to see him doing well there with the the Oklahoma State boys. What you got next, man?
I'm going to go to the West Coast at 4:00. I've got Cal -1.5 over Wazoo. Look, this is the battle of the teams that need to get right. So Wazoo's on a 5-game slide and Cal is on a 4-game slide. But if you remember a couple of games ago, Cal was really close to beating USC. They lost by 1 point, and I don't want to say probably should have won that game. They're severely they have severely less talent than USC, so can't really say that they should have won it. It was a close game, and I thought it was a good loss for Cal, if there is such a thing. They're favored by 1.5, and I think that Wazoo, on the other hand, Cal, I mean, they've had a tough 4 games. Like you look at, like they've lost to Oregon, they lost to USC. I don't have their schedule pulled up, but it's been 4 games like that were tough to win, And Wazoo, on the other hand, they just lost to Stanford 10-7. They've had 5 games, and of those, like 3 of them they definitely should have won. And they're sliding pretty hard right now. They're not putting up the 40 points on offense that they started the season with. They started off 4-0, and now they've lost 5 in a row. So I think that Cal has a little bit more momentum, and I think that they're going to be able to win this game.
Absolutely. Go ahead and take us to your next one, man. Who you got beyond that?
And last, I'm going to finish it up with Auburn +2.5 at Arkansas. I think that Auburn is on a mission to win at least 4 out of their last 5 and to go bowling. And they've got the team to do it. They've got the momentum to do it right now. Arkansas, on the other hand, they just beat Florida, right? They're coming off of that win in overtime. And the play that they needed to get to overtime, and I know it was earlier in the game, but a pick 6 kind of got them there, and I don't think Florida's all that good, and they played a really pretty bad game. Had a couple of turnovers in that game. Arkansas did as well, and Florida wasn't able to capitalize. I think that both of their interceptions, or both of their turnovers, led to punts, if I'm not mistaken. I know one of them did. But I don't feel like Arkansas is all that great. They're sliding, and Auburn, they're trying to get some momentum headed to the Iron Bowl. And they're on a crash course for Alabama, looking to play upset, looking for Hugh Freeze to get his, big win of his first season. And I don't think he'll be able to do that. But in order to get there, they've got to win 4 out of these last 5 and have a chance to go bowling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, are you out of picks?
That's
the
it.
last
Yep.
one.
That's all I got.
I like that pick a lot because you're right. The Auburn needs to go to a bowl game so bad, because going to a bowl game, it's not just about the money and the swag bags or whatever the F you want to call them. It's about the 15 extra practices that you get.
Yeah.
And not to mention these days, these early enrollees, these kids that know they're going to Auburn and they're graduating from high school early, they can practice in these practices. And it changes things. Let me tell you something. You see this G on my shirt. Georgia's had several guys that have done that, showed up early, practiced, and got ready for national championships. And guess what? They're out on the field producing for the Georgia Bulldogs now. They weren't eligible to compete in the national championship. That's not what I'm saying. But they were out there practicing with the team, and you got to imagine 15 practices. You're going to feel way more comfortable just being a player on that team. And your headspace is going to be so much better going into the next year. Auburn needs that really, really bad, as Hugh Freeze is trying to build something, and he's going to have to get a quarterback to do so. And I think he'll be able to do that and get Auburn going in the right direction eventually. Let's talk about the Texas TCU game. So this is actually at TCU. Okay. So, it's going to be a packed crowd, not like a huge stadium, but a pretty decent home field advantage. Texas is trying to avenge a 17-10 loss last year to Max Duggan and the TCU Horned Frogs as they marched their way to the national championship. And Texas said, wait a minute. We're the Texas team here. Well, it's Texas's chance to prove that they are the team out of Texas to beat. This is one of those chances right here. Quentin earlier was saying that Texas announced that Quinn Ewers is playing. And yes, since he's commented that, I have went online and verified this. He is cleared to play, and it's looking like he's getting the start. And Quentin said the line moved from 10 to 12. Now I haven't looked at the line, but 12 does sound
Yeah,
correct
I
to
actually
me.
saw it. That was right right before we started. I didn't realize it started at 10, but yeah, it is at 12 now.
And Quentin is predicting a 30. Quentin, for anybody that doesn't know, is a Texas fan. If you watch the show here lately, Quentin's been commenting. Thank you, Quentin. Appreciate you. But he's a Texas Longhorn. This doesn't offend you, does it? Because Quentin, I have to toughen you up and make sure that you're really cut from the right jib to be in the SEC, because you're going to be in the SEC next year, okay? And you're going to be seeing this, and you can't cry about it, okay? No, I don't want to. Don't be going to the SEC office and telling on nobody. Don't be doing none of that. You just Tech's going to be all right. They just got to beat everybody on the field, and then you ain't going to be seeing this.
Yep.
I kid around, man. I joke around, but welcome to Trash Talking Capital USA. Is SEC football. It's a whole different thing, and you're going to figure that out. And Quentin, I hope you get to go to a game whenever Texas is an SEC team, because or maybe an away game, because you'll get to see some awesome crowds, unlike anything you'll see in the Big 12, unless it's a rivalry game or something like that. I know there's a few games with an exception, but every SEC game is huge, man. It's crazy. What do you think in that game? What's your outlook on the Texas TCU? TCU, man, they average giving up over 5 yards of play for the season, Mason. I mean,
Yeah.
that's and with Quinn Ewers coming back, I just don't see. According to Quentin too, Texas is getting healthy right now. That this should be a week that it all comes together. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the score pulled up. So last week, I remember that they played Texas Tech on like a Friday night, and it went to overtime, or it almost went to overtime. I think that wasn't it Tech that ended up winning that. Let me see. Am I just way off on this? Yeah, Tech ended up winning by a touchdown. I think that TCU's quarterback threw a pick late on his drive. Had a pretty good quarterback, or had a pretty good game. The quarterback did 353 yards, a touchdown, but did throw 2 interceptions. Again, that one was late, and he was trying to force a win on that last drive. And lost to Texas Tech. I just don't know what we're seeing out of TCU week in and week out. There's a chance that their starting quarterback, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but he comes back. And
For TCU?
TCU. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. I keep wanting to say Duggan, and I know it's not that. But anyways, if he comes back and plays in this game, does it matter? I guess is the real question. Or is Texas on a mission? I think that if Ewers is playing, there's a good shot. I like the score prediction, 35-17. I don't know that
Oh, you were talking
TCU
about
can
Chandler
put up
Morris.
17 points even. Morris, that's it. Yep. I appreciate it. And yeah, I don't think that even with more that TCU is going to be able to put up, 17 points in this game. They've been very up and down, all season. You don't quite know what to expect, from that offense. And they scored 44 against BYU, but then against Kansas State, they lost 41-3. Man, they're just so up and down.
Chandler Morris playing in this game. I mean, how many points would that even be worth?
Maybe 2.
I don't think. I don't think many. Yeah, maybe 2.
Yeah, maybe 2.
Maybe.
But yeah,
I think you're good, Quentin.
Yeah, I do too. I like Texas in this game. I'm gonna do a little bit more digging when we get off to see if I want to bet it.
I like 35-17 too. I think
Mhm.
that's a pretty good prediction there.
Yep, that'd be an 18-point win. So a little bit over a touchdown.
Quentin, we're gonna let you in the YKB club. You know ball.
There you go.
And if you know, you know. That comes from another college football show that I just stole it just now. But we'll let you in the club. guys, all that's left to do now is watch college football. Okay.
Make some
and
money.
That's the funnest friggin' part of all this. Go get the bets in the window, make some money with us. Listen, if you haven't hit the subscribe button at this point, I don't know what the hell you're doing. What the hell are you doing? I don't know if you know what you're doing. But to show me that you do know what you're doing, hit the subscribe button. Okay. That way, you know, when we're going live, when we're posting content, because we're getting into the best part of the year. We still got 2 months of college football, y'all. Come up for air, get your air, get ready to go back under because it's about to get crazy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to get crazy. Thank you all for tuning in, everybody who tuned in through the show. Don't forget to hit that like button. Everybody, enjoy your weekend, make some money. Let us know your bets. Don't forget to comment it. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks. Have a good one, y'all.